The cortisol coursing through your veins right now, at this very second, is the exact same chemical your ancestors used to outrun saber-toothed cats. Except you're sitting down, and there's no cat, just an email. Here's what nobody tells you about stress. It's not the enemy. Your body's stress response is one of evolution's most elegant survival tools, honed over millions of years. The problem? That tool was designed for a world that no longer exists. Your great-great-great-grandmother 1,000 generations back faced genuine threats, predators, starvation, hostile tribes. But those threats had something your Monday morning panic attack doesn't have: an endpoint. She either escaped the leopard or she didn't. 20 minutes later, her nervous system reset to baseline. Yours never does. Modern humans live in a state of chronic low-grade threat activation that would be utterly alien to ancient people. We've engineered a world that pokes our amygdala every 6 seconds without ever letting it fully discharge. Notification dings, traffic jams, mortgage payments, performance reviews, the gap between your bank balance and your rent. Your ancestors didn't lie awake at 3 a.m. catastrophizing about quarterly projections, because quarterly projections didn't exist. Neither did 3 a.m. artificial lighting. But we'll get to that. Let's rewind 100,000 years. You're part of a band of maybe 30 people, all of whom you've known since birth. Your survival depends on this group, and the group's survival depends on cooperation. There's no resume to pad, no personal brand to curate. Status exists. Humans have always been a hierarchical species, but it's earned through tangible contributions everyone witnesses firsthand. You're valuable because you can track game for 2 days straight, or because you know which routes won't kill everyone, or because you tell stories that keep the group cohesive during the lean season. Your worth is immediate, visible, undeniable. Contrast that with you. Right now, your value is abstracted into systems so complex you can't see the whole picture. You trade hours of your life for tokens in a bank account that represent purchasing power in an economy of millions of strangers. Your boss's boss has a boss you've never met who answers to shareholders who are literally faceless. The tribal brain in your skull, still running software from the Pleistocene, looks at this maze and registers existential confusion. It keeps asking, am I safe? Do I belong? Will the group cast me out? And it never gets a clean answer, so it never stops asking. Ancient humans experienced acute stress, the kind that spikes hard and fast. Adrenaline floods the system, pupils dilate, blood shunts away from digestion toward major muscle groups, heart rate doubles. This is the sympathetic nervous system doing exactly what it's supposed to do, preparing you to fight or run. And here's the crucial part. You do one of those things. You fight or you run. The stress discharges through physical action. The threat resolves. Your parasympathetic nervous system, the rest and digest mode, kicks back in. Cortisol levels crater. You're back to baseline, often within the hour. You never get that discharge. Your stress is psychological, abstract, chronic. The threat is your inbox, which cannot be outrun. It's your credit score, which cannot be strangled. It's the comparison game on social media, where everyone else's highlight reel makes your blooper reel feel like failure. It's the gnawing sense that you're falling behind in a race with no finish line. And because these threats never resolve, your body never gets the all-clear signal. You marinate in cortisol, day after day, month after month, year after year. The health consequences are catastrophic. Chronic cortisol exposure shrinks your hippocampus, the brain region responsible for memory and emotional regulation. It enlarges your amygdala, making you more reactive to perceived threats. It suppresses your immune system. It promotes visceral fat storage, the kind wrapped around your organs that correlates with heart disease. It disrupts your sleep architecture, which then amplifies every other stressor. It's a vicious loop, and your ancient ancestors simply didn't live in it. But let's talk about what they had instead. Purpose was never a question. Your role in the group was obvious. If you were skilled with a bow, you hunted. If you had a knack for flint knapping, you made tools. If you could read the weather in the clouds, you guided the group's movements. There was no career existentialism, no crisis of meaning. You didn't wonder if you were living your best life. You were living your only life, and it was embedded in a web of relationships that gave it automatic significance. Social connection was constant and unavoidable. You saw the same faces every single day. You shared food, child-rearing, labor, stories. Loneliness as we know it, the kind that now affects more than 60% of adults in industrialized nations, was virtually impossible. Even if you didn't particularly like everyone in your band, you needed them, and they needed you. That mutual dependence created a kind of forced intimacy that modern individualism has obliterated. You can go days now without a meaningful face-to-face conversation. Your ancestors couldn't go hours. Then there's the movement. Hunter-gatherers walked between 4 and 9 miles daily, not as exercise. The concept didn't exist, just as the cost of being alive. Tracking game, gathering plants, moving camp, fetching water. Their bodies were in constant moderate motion, interspersed with occasional bursts of intensity. This movement wasn't just cardiovascular conditioning, it was active meditation. The rhythm of walking, especially in nature, synchronizes your brain waves in ways that reduce rumination and anxiety. They were essentially microdosing exposure therapy for stress every single day without trying. And they slept like the dead. No blue light, no shift work, no alarm clocks. The circadian rhythm ruled absolutely. When the sun set, activity wound down. Firelight, which is much redder and dimmer than your phone screen, maybe extended the day a few hours, but eventually everyone slept. Deep, uninterrupted, restorative sleep, governed by the same light-dark cycle that had shaped primate biology for millions of years. You've hacked that cycle to pieces. You stare at screens emitting wavelengths that tell your pineal gland it's noon when it's actually midnight. Your melatonin production staggers around confused. You wake up exhausted, slam caffeine to compensate, then wonder why you're anxious. Diet tells a similar story. Ancient humans ate when they had food. They fasted when they didn't. There was no breakfast, lunch, dinner schedule, no industrial seed oils, no high-fructose corn syrup, no processed food engineered in labs to hijack your dopamine receptors. Their meals were nutrient-dense, micronutrient-rich, and required actual effort to obtain. The effort itself, the hunt, the foraging, was part of the lifestyle that kept stress balanced. You, meanwhile, can DoorDash 1,000 calories of nutritionally void garbage without standing up, which your body registers as a miracle of abundance, but your mind registers as another small abdication of agency. Here's a pattern that cuts across all of this. Ancient humans had high information, low noise. They tracked weather patterns, animal behavior, plant cycles, social dynamics within their group, information that was immediately relevant to survival. That's it. They weren't monitoring geopolitical conflicts on 3 continents, celebrity gossip, stock market fluctuations, and the opinions of 10,000 strangers before breakfast. The human brain can maintain meaningful relationships with about 150 people, Dunbar's number. Your ancestors knew maybe 30 intimately. You're exposed to thousands of faces and voices daily, most of whom you'll never meet, all of whom your brain still tries to process as potential allies or threats. It's exhausting the same way running background apps drains your phone battery. Control is the other missing ingredient. When your ancient ancestor faced a threat, she had agency. She could climb a tree, throw a spear, rally the group, run. The outcome might be uncertain, but the action was direct. Most of your stressors aren't like that. You can't fight inflation. You can't run from your boss's mood. You can't spear your anxiety about climate change. The helplessness itself becomes a stressor. Psychologists call it low perceived control, and it's one of the strongest predictors of chronic stress and depression. You're a highly intelligent animal stuck in a cage made of abstractions, and all your evolved escape mechanisms are useless. Let's zoom in on a specific day. An ancient human wakes with the sun. No jarring alarm ripping her from REM sleep. She stretches, probably urinates outside, drinks water from a stream. The first task is checking in with the group. Who's doing what today? Maybe she joins a gathering expedition. This means walking several miles through varied terrain, eyes scanning for edible plants, ears alert for animal sounds. It's low-intensity cardio combined with nature exposure, combined with social bonding, combined with purposeful work. By midday, she's found tubers, maybe some berries. There's a collective meal, stories get told, a dispute gets settled face to face, loudly, then it's over. The afternoon might bring tool maintenance, hide processing, child rearing that's shared among multiple adults. As evening comes, the group gathers around a fire. More food if the hunters succeeded. More stories, laughter, song. The fire's warmth and light create a pocket of safety against the dark. Eventually, she lies down on soft materials, surrounded by familiar bodies, and sleeps until sunrise. She might have experienced a moment of acute fear, a snake, a tense encounter with a neighboring band, but it was bounded, resolved, discharged. Your day? Alarm slices through sleep at an arbitrary hour. You jolt awake with cortisol already spiking, the body's natural wake-up mechanism hijacked. Before your feet touch the floor, you're checking your phone, flooding your brain with information that ranges from irrelevant to enraging. You sit in traffic, a uniquely modern stressor that combines helplessness, time pressure, and isolation. At work, you navigate office politics with people who aren't quite friends, but aren't quite strangers, trying to decode subtext in emails, managing a calendar fragmented into 30-minute blocks. Lunch is inhaled at your desk. You barely see sunlight. You barely move. By evening, you're too tired to cook properly, so you eat something designed in a lab. You scroll social media, which studies show increases loneliness and anxiety while making you feel connected. You watch screens until you can barely keep your eyes open. Then you sleep poorly and do it again tomorrow. This isn't a value judgment. You're not weak for struggling with this. You're a biological organism trying to run Pleistocene hardware on a 21st century operating system, and the incompatibility is making you sick. Your stress response isn't broken. It's just firing constantly at threats it was never designed to handle. Some people hear this comparison and think the answer is to LARP as hunter-gatherers. Grow all your own food, delete your smartphone, live in a yurt. That's missing the point. You can't opt out of modernity without enormous sacrifice, and ancient life had trade-offs we conveniently ignore. Infant mortality was high. Injuries that are trivial now could be fatal then. If your band encountered a hostile group, violence was common. Starvation was a real possibility. Parasites were a given. Life expectancy was brutally short, though if you survived childhood, you had decent odds of hitting 60. The question isn't whether ancient life was better. The question is, what did they have that we've lost, and can we get any of it back? You can't resurrect tribal living, but you can prioritize a handful of deep relationships over 1,000 shallow ones. You can't quit your job and forage, but you can move your body daily in ways that aren't soul-crushing treadmill slogs. Walk in a park, take stairs, play a sport that feels like play. You can't eliminate artificial light, but you can dim screens after sunset and step outside to watch the sky darken. You can't escape all noise, but you can fiercely protect pockets of silence. You can't make your work feel immediately purposeful, but you can build small, tangible skills outside it. Gardening, cooking, fixing things that give your hands a reason to exist beyond typing. Most importantly, you can recognize that your stress isn't a personal failing. It's a mismatch. Your body is doing exactly what it should, sounding alarms when it senses threats. The tragedy is that the alarm never stops because the world you've built never stops poking it. The first step to fixing that isn't self-optimization. It's self-compassion. Your ancestors didn't have less stress because they were tougher. They had less stress because their environment wasn't engineered to fracture attention, monetize anxiety, and commodify every waking second. The cortisol in your veins is the same chemical, but the saber-toothed cat has been replaced by 1,000 invisible teeth, and none of them ever let go.